Hey, friends, welcome to Chai and Coaching. I'm Rob, and at Chai and Coaching, we're all about helping you thrive and succeed in your cross cultural journey, especially with study abroad and visa interviews. And in this video, we're going to be talking about visa interviews. Harsh is going to be sharing his visa interview experience, how he got approved, and tips for helping you to ace your next upcoming visa interview. So, Harsh, welcome, and please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Rob. It's been a great pleasure for me to be on your channel. I'm going to be introducing myself. My name is Harsh Waghani. I'm from Mumbai, Maharashtra, India, and I'll be attending the university, the State University of New York at Binghamton for my master's. And the course that I'll be pursuing is Information System.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing your story here for your visa interview. Next, let's talk about your process. What did it look like for you to book your visa interview slot?
That is a great question. And if I were to go back in time and think about the actual time when I was booking the slot, obviously it was filled with a lot of anxiety because it was the first time that I was booking. But I came across this really nice extension called as checkvisaslots.com. And I was kind of skeptical about whether it's correct or no. But then I saw a lot of my friends using that and getting the slots booked. And that's where I used that extension. So for me, the first slots opened on 4th of March for the April month. So until that day, I had not paid the visa fees. So that was the day when I came to know that okay, the slots might be opening up anytime soon. So the next Monday, that is 6th of March, I went ahead and I paid the visa fees. And from 7th, I was eligible to book the visa slot. Luckily, I had to monitor just 2 days, and on 9th of March, I got the slots around 5 p.m. or so, and I got the timings for like 25th was my OFC appointment and 27th was my visa interview, April.
Okay. So yeah, tell us more of those details about the interview, kind of the location, when they were, and kind of your arrival process.
So in Mumbai consulate, and I believe this is true for all the other embassy offices in India, we have two separate offices. One is for biometrics and the other one is for the interview, actual interview that we have to go through. The OFC appointment in Mumbai was at a building called Parini Crescenzo, and I think it was scheduled at around 9 a.m. in the morning. And I went there at 8 a.m. I reached there and I was called in at around 8:15 or so. The process was quite simple. You go in there, you stand in a queue. Uh, the officer checks, there's a little counter wherein you get your DS 160 check, like if you have entered all the details correctly from the passport, and if everything is good, then they just send you in a queue wherein your token number is displayed on a big screen, just like McDonald's or Subway or so. And then once you get called, they click your photograph. They ask you to put your left hand four fingers, right hand four fingers, and the two thumbs. Now I would like to mention over here is that because this is a biometric interview, they ask you to actually move further because there's a whiteboard actually, and you have to go towards the whiteboard, and that is why the distance between you and the person who's speaking inside of the glass in the counter increases a lot. So you might face difficulties into hearing them. So it's okay if you can you ask again once again, because for me, the lady who was sitting inside told me to put my chin down because I'm tall. The camera was bottom. I actually put my entire body down, and then she had to repeat it twice. No, no, it's just the chin, just the chin. So so that was kind of a nervous as well as a funny moment that I had. So it's okay if you ask it once again. And talking about the main interview, this is where it gets real and it's kind of a nerve wracking moment. So the good thing about Mumbai is that the OFC building and the visa interview building are at a distance of around just 500 meters, half a kilometer or so, and it's walkable. So you don't have to book a train or like you have to commute somewhere else. Now,
That's nice and convenient.
exactly. That's what did. Like I got down at the OFC and then I walked the distance to the VI appointment. Now, once we reach the location, you can see a lot of parents as well as guardians as well as students standing on one side of the street, which is opposite to the main building. And then they display a board wherein they display the time of the slots that the students are called for. Mine was a 10 a.m. slot. So I reached there at around 9:10 in the morning. And then I was standing for like around 15-20 minutes. And at 9:30 approximately, they were calling all the 10 a.m. students. So this is the first queue that I have to go through. So I have to cross the road and then stand in a long queue. Over there, they check your passport and then they let you in. Just the passport. because a lot of visas applicants are there, B1, B2, F1, and all sorts of
Mhm.
other visas. So they just check your passport and then they let you in. Once you get in, there's like an airport security check wherein you're asked to remove if you have a leather belt, or if you have a like metallic watch or something like that. They ask you to remove it. You are undergone through some checking, and then you can wear them back as well. Now you are made to sit in, I would term this as a garden kind of a lobby, because it's really green and there's quite a number of seats available for us to sit on. So that's like a long array of seats which are present in the Mumbai office. So you sit over there and then just pray to God that your turn comes soon. Otherwise, for me specifically, I had to sit there for 45 minutes for my
Oh,
turn to come, and that was like the most nervous moment in the 45 minutes, because you see a lot of people are coming out with their passports in their hand, and when you see this kind of situations, it just scares you a lot. So yeah,
yeah.
that was the final point. Like afterwards, you're called, and then you just get in the office and you just wait for the interview line.
Yeah. So before we share his visa interview questions, first of all, friends, hit that like button, give a thumbs up to say thanks to Harsh for sharing his tips, which we're going to be sharing even more at the end about his visa interview process. And our chai question for you, friends, is what location are you going to be giving your visa interview? Let us know in the comments, where are you going to be having your visa interview? Which consulate, which embassy, which city? We'd love to know for our chai coaching community. Go ahead and tell us in the comments. All right, Harsh, what everyone's waiting to hear is what were your questions and answers during your visa interview, and what was the interaction like with the visa officer?
So the interaction was such that when I was in the interview line, they only allow like three applicants for the interview line. So one person is already giving the interview, and then there are two people in the queue. So when my turn came, I saw this officer who was wearing a mask, which was kind of a nervous moment for me, because I had a question like, "Oh, will I be able to hear him properly or no?" But as soon as the visa interview started, everything just fell into its place, and I was able to hear him clearly. He started off with some of the basic questions, like he asked me, okay, so you're going to the State University of New York at Binghamton, is that correct? Which was just a one word answer. He then asked me a couple of questions about my undergrad, like when did you graduate and what was your CGPA? So I told him my answers to that. The next question, and this is the one wherein I think I did it right in the interview process, was that he asked me, why do you want to pursue masters? Now this is the chance, and wherein when they ask you a why question, this is your chance wherein you have to present all your highlights. And in this, I actually presented everything that I had in my head in a very precise and concise manner. So I mentioned that I've been working for a couple of years in the analytics and programming domain, and this particular master's course would help me to enhance the skills by learning more advanced tools and technologies. Also, there's actually a specialization in data science in our university, so I even mentioned that this has a kind of tremendous opportunities, and it would add up to my profile. And this was the answer wherein I particularly mentioned about my job description, A, because it was linked to my master's, and B, because I wanted to talk more about it. Third, the next question that he asked me was, oh, so you mentioned about your work experience. Could you tell me about your job description, the designation, and a little bit brief about your duties? And that was like a bingo moment for me. I mentioned him about I work as a business analyst at XYZ company, and I mentioned in brief about my roles. I was ready to explain a lot more about my roles, but then he had used the word brief, like, could you do it in brief? So that's why I just mentioned the highlights of my job. And after that, it was pretty easy. So he asked me about who is your primary sponsor. Now, again, I'm not sure if this is true or no, but in my I-20, the entire amount is being funded by my education loan. And in my I-20, it is written like education loan, the amount, and then there's nothing. So I saw him that he looked at my I-20 and then asked me the question. So here's where I mentioned everything about my funding, but I started off with the education loan. Why? Because it is mentioned in the I-20. So I said that I have an education loan of X amount. I mentioned about the savings of myself and my father. And third thing, I mentioned about the assets that we own. And after this, it was pretty simple. He just asked me about which are the other universities that you got an admit from. I just mentioned that it's Space University. And finally, I got to hear the golden words after a minute and a half that congratulations, your visa has been approved and collected within a week's time.
Woo, congrats. So exciting.
Thank you.
How did you feel when you got that answer?
To be honest, that was like an unreal moment for me. I got a white slip. I saw that is putting my passport inside. and I was just walking. And here's a funny story that I'd like to share with you and your audience is that literally when I was walking towards the exit gate, it literally felt like the entire world around me just disappeared in a second. And I was just like in a dreamland or a fairyland, I would say. And I would say a little bit of a weird moment happened with me during that time. So I reached at the exit door. Now that door was a pull type of door. And what I was doing, I was pushing it hard. It didn't open. I pushed it even harder. Then the security came and he told me, you don't have to do it like this. Do it like this. And I'm like, thank you. That helps.
Kind of like you're in a movie dream scene, you know?
Exactly
So,
like that.
yeah, yeah. Before we share some tips, I want to point out one thing that Harsh did really well in his visa interview for you guys watching is he told his story. He didn't give short single word answers, but when they asked why, especially like, you know, why this degree, why this university, you tell your story, and story should always be three parts: past, present, future. You tell where you've been, you tell what you're doing now, and then you tell your plans for the future. And that's what Harsh did in his story. He went back into his work experience, talked about what he's doing now, and then in the future, how this degree is going to help him with his future goals. And those are the kind of detailed but succinct answers that visa officers are going to be looking for. So great job doing that, and
Thank you.
having those prepared details and personalized, not memorized, not someone else's answer, but your own answer. I think is what really helped you nail that visa interview. Um, so before I share a couple more resources and tips, Hirsch, let's talk about any lessons learned or any other tips that you would give for people who are preparing for their upcoming visa interview.
I think first of all, which is I don't think I have to mention this, but please subscribe to Chai and Coaching because Rob brings in
Oh,
awesome
thank
videos
you.
for you about the preparation tips and guidance. And the tips that I want to particularly share is number one, do not compare your answers with the ones that you get on WhatsApp group or Telegram groups, because
Mm,
I've seen this that people share their interview experiences, and what we as an individual do is we compare our answers, and God forbid if that particular answer was rejected, we try to question ourselves. And the reason why I'm
mm,
saying this is because when you read a text, you do not know how that person has answered those questions to the officer. Like even if let's say if the answer is good but then it is not presented correctly, that is the reason why they must have gotten rejected. And that is not something that you should be comparing yourself with. And it might lead to a situation wherein you change your answer and you ditch your previous good answer, you put in a new answer. So that is something that you should avoid doing. And the second tip which I would love to share is that don't be nervous when you get in the embassy. Now obviously this is easier said than done, but when you are sitting in the lobby, waiting lobby, and seeing a lot of people are getting their passports back, this is kind of a moment which might scare you as hell,
mm,
and you might tend to get nervous, forget your answers. So the best thing is to not look at anyone around you, just look down on the ground, look at your feet, look at other one's feet, and do not look up. And even when you go inside the interview counter, avoid looking at anyone else and just focus on yourself, because you know that you have done a lot of hard work, you've put in a lot of hard work to be at the place where you are. And don't be nervous and miss the 1 or 2 minute of interview that you have. So just be yourself, and it'll be approved for sure. The third and the final tip which I want to share with you, with all of you, and this is actually even personal tip for me. A lot of you might have education loan mentioned on your I-20, and to a lot of people this might be a bit of negative, because when I shared that I have an education loan mentioned on the I-20, a lot of people literally WhatsApp called me and said that, oh no, this is actually bad for your interview, this sets a bad impression that you're just taking the loan and you do not have any family funds or something like that. So I want to make sure that it's not an issue at all. The uh, uh, what the visa officer wants to see is you have proper fundings to fund your education. Now it doesn't matter if it comes from your loan, it comes from your savings or anything else. As long as you have sufficient funds to cover your entire I-20 amount, you're good to go. So in the interview you can mention about the loan and the other funding sources that you might have, but having education loan on your I-20 is not a big of an issue. And yeah, this trick helped me a lot, because I've seen myself and a lot of other friends who have actually cleared the interview and had education loan mentioned on their I-20.
I also want to share a couple other helpful resources for you, my friends. First is we have a visa interview playlist. A lot of people might just watch one of our videos, but not know we have an entire playlist with dozens and dozens of videos with stories like Harsh sharing their personal experience. Also, I've interviewed former US visa officers who share their tips and expertise. And those interviews are incredible. You don't want to miss those. Go check those out. Those are great resources for you on our visa interview playlist. And we also have a great partnership with Chime Coaching with Argo Visa. Argo Visa is a Chime Coaching approved partner, and this is a company of ex visa officers who provide coaching and help. If you've been rejected or refused before, or have a unique case or situation, their coaching, their mentorship can really help guide you, prepare you how to get those right answers to teach you exactly what the visa officers are looking for. And on their website, they have a free resource, a visa checkup. It's a great, cool bot where you answer maybe 10 to 15 questions about your unique profile and situations. And it'll actually give you a numbered ranking, a score out of 100 on how prepared, how successful your visa interview is going to be based on how a visa interview is going to review it. And then whether you're green, yellow, or red, it'll suggest kind of what other further steps or coaching you might need to make sure you're going to get an approval. So check that out. A lot of people have benefited from this. It's really helpful. And so, yeah, those are some great resources because we want to see you guys thrive and succeed and get those visas approved. Okay, Harsh, thank you so much. I learned some new things from this conversation, so I really appreciate you sharing your story and giving back to the Chime Coaching community.
Thank you so much, Rob. And I'd just like to share one thing that Rob's channel has helped me a lot. And for sure, just subscribe to his channel and go on to the playlist. You do not need to pay for like a consultancy in your place or something like that. If you follow even his channel and watch all the playlist videos for visa interview, I think you're good.
Yeah, that's the goal. That's the goal for sure. We'll have
Definitely.
all the links in the video description of everything we share in this video. Be sure to connect with us online on social media like Instagram, LinkedIn. We have an awesome Chime Coaching e-newsletter that goes out every week with extra tips and resources and upcoming events. And thanks so much for tuning in. We love having you guys be part of the Chime Coaching community, and we'll see you next time. Cheers, everyone.